Boardroom Bound, Episode 87, Why an Executive Coach Might Be Your Answer, with Rita Allen.
And we do seek out diversity in every aspect of that word with intentionality and continue to work on our initiatives there and our efforts.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Boardroom Bound. My name is Alexander Lowry, and this is the podcast dedicated to intentional leadership in the boardroom. My goal is to give aspiring and existing directors the tips, tactics, and strategies necessary to transform your confidence and build a successful career as a board director. Quick reminder, you can get all of today's show notes at podcast.gordon.edu. And in today's episode, we're speaking with Rita Allen. She is a lifetime of experience HR, so very important position of authority and platform and knowledge base on that. And then she's also a personal branding and marketing expert building off of that. And in addition to that, she's also the leader at the Boston Club. She's been the president and the board chair and understands this organization dedicated to adding more women into the boardroom. Brings all of that together to talk about how we as individuals position ourselves, brand ourselves, prepare ourselves to get into the board space. Lots of great content. Let's jump into the show. Rita Allen, welcome to the Boardroom Bound podcast.
Thank you, Alex. Pleasure to be here.
Delighted to have you on the show today, and I would love if you would just give a scene setting for our audience. It's very important to understand someone's background, experience, how they got to where they are, because you didn't become, someone who's an expert in HR and personal branding and marketing overnight. That took many years of experience. So walk us through how you got to where you are today.
Sure. I actually like to say I'm a product of co-op through Northeastern. I was an undergrad at Northeastern in the College of Business and had a concentration that was pretty general in management and wasn't sure exactly which area of business I wanted to focus in. And through the co-op experience, I was able to try different things and work in different areas. And through those experiences, one of my last co-op jobs was for a semiconductor company in human resources. And that really helped me launch my career in HR. I found I really loved it and played to my strengths and interests. And so from there, when I graduated, I started a career in human resources, worked for a few different semiconductor companies, a couple of different semiconductor companies, and then also worked for a medical device company. And in those experiences, I really got to push myself and stretch and learn all areas of human resources. And through that corporate experience, was able to really add some depth in my HR knowledge, as well as start to build some really strong, lasting relationships. I knew, however, that my long-term goal was always to have my own business.
Okay.
There was that entrepreneurial part of me that always wanted to create and build a business at some point. And so about, maybe 8 years into my corporate HR career, I had an opportunity presented to me to work for a search firm. And that was a great way for me to now say, okay, if I do want to have my own business someday, this will give me an opportunity to really hone my external consultative skills, some sales skills, marketing, business development, and the search firm specialized in HR. So I was able to still leverage the HR knowledge and skills I had and deepen it even further by the opportunity to work with clients through all industries and help them as they were searching for senior level HR people to fill these slots that they had. And so I did that. That was sort of the second phase of my career, or second chapter, and got to work with the firm Gaddy and Associates, which became a premier firm really specializing in the search and placement of senior HR folks. And in that role, I got to really develop an incredible network too, and really started to enhance and build my brand in different ways that kind of built upon the HR experience I had. And now I was able to really build some strong marketing and business development skill sets as well, and was there for a long time and helped the firm grow. And from there, 2005, it was sort of the time had come to start my own business, and I felt that it was a good time for a number of reasons, and so that's what I did. And for the last 15 plus years, I've had the privilege of working with clients throughout all industries, where I do executive coaching, leadership development, management training, and career development. So I work with individuals and teams and really get to sort of focus on the areas that are my sweet spots, and get to work with clients throughout all industries. And through these experiences, too, over the years, I had opportunities presented that stretched me in some additional ways, such as being a lecturer. I've been teaching at Northeastern University, which not only did I get my undergrad,
it's all come full circle for you, right? So you went as a student, and now you're back as faculty.
Yes, exactly, which has been a great journey for me. And through the experiences I've had, too, I was presented opportunities to write, which led from one article to another to then writing for a column, and then I found myself positioned to publish a book, which I did a few years ago as well, on the topic of personal branding and marketing yourself. And through these experiences, as I coach my clients too, I've experienced firsthand pushing out of your comfort zone, because sometimes we have a track and we're very focused along that track in achieving our goals, yet sometimes there's new roads that open up that we did not expect. So, having faith in yourself and pushing yourself in new ways, you end up seeing, geez, I do have some other talents that maybe I didn't realize that you are able to develop even further, and then creates a whole host of other opportunities for you. And through all of these experiences, too, I've been very involved in professional organizations, and not only as active member, but also sitting on committees and then being asked to sit on the board. And through those experiences, one of the organizations that I've been a member of and very involved in over the years has been the Boston Club. And, having started as a member, then being on various committees, then asked to sit on the board, chairing our corporate relations committee, and did that for a few years. And then a few years later was nominated and elected to be the vice president-elect. And that's what I have, that role I've been in for the last 2 years, and I'm just finishing my term now as we speak, and it's been just a fabulous, phenomenal experience for me.
Well, that is, there are a couple reasons in there through that phenomenal story about your background experience that are relevant for audience today, and we'll cover these over the course of the show. Clearly, the idea of branding and marketing is essential for everyone listening in terms of whether you're trying to get your first seat or a successive seat. In the same way, the Boston Club and what you guys do in terms of, I would say, one of a great organization in the Boston area, certainly that I know of, who is advocating the value of more women in the boardroom, which is a topic we talk a lot about here. I'm a big believer in diversity of thought in the boardroom. We'd like to talk more about what you guys are doing, the best practices that you're sharing. But let's begin by just sort of unpicking your story for our audience a little bit. So there are nuggets in what you've said of you built on position after position, got promoted in the HR world, grew in your specialization and expertise, and now you have that position. You've written some articles, you've clearly given some speeches, you're involved in some organizations where people can see that you have that reputation and you have that brand. Someone is probably sitting here listening to this going, I want to be a board member in whatever period of time, a month, a year, a decade. And they're beginning to think, how do I build that? How do I start to make that platform for myself? How do you coach people on that, Rita?
It starts really with having a clear sense of how you add value and what expertise is. What do you bring? Especially as you think about different boards, whether it's, certainly if it's a nonprofit board, you have to see what you bring to further the mission of that organization and helping them achieve their goals, too. So it really does start, I believe all, leadership is all about how well you know yourself, number one, that it sort of begins and ends with that inner strength. So for starters, I would say, have a clear sense of what you bring, what your value is, how you make a difference, what those differentiators are, and so that you're not only being your authentic self, but that you're really being your best authentic self. Sometimes, it takes a lot of strength to sort of step back and say, what do I sort of the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, we all have it, right? Nobody is perfect at everything, but really being very grounded in what it is that you do well and how you make a difference. So that's number one. Secondly, it's really all about relationships, too. If you're interested in being on a board, you want to learn about that organization, if there's a specific organization that interests you. And also just train figure out do some education so that you understand what it takes to be a good board member, to be an effective board member, to achieve results. And also about creating and nurturing those relationships that are very strategic and how you give back, how you be of service, because at the end of the day, that's what we all want to do, right? We want to make a difference. We want our presence to have had some value and impact. So I would say those are really key, is know what you bring, number one, and then work on building those relationships so that you can be known as someone who is, someone who makes a difference, who has a lot to offer, and that you are sort of someone who's a servant leader, someone who is interested and capable of being of service, whether it's on the corporate or nonprofit side.
So, Rita, this is great high-level advice. Let's unpick that and bring it down to sort of an actionable level for a lot of people, because you and I were joking before the show started. It's a new normal. The world has changed. It doesn't feel the way it did many times before, and it's probably going to start and stop a lot over the next couple of years from what we're used to. For example, many of us spend a lot more time on Zoom than we did before. Some people never did it before, and I heard the CEO of Cisco recently say, I know we developed the technology for people to work from home, but boy, I hope I can get back to the office soon. I'm not sure I can take this anymore. So people are adjusting to new ways of doing things. In the world that we live in now, what do you think the best practice advice is for people to build relationships when you can't see people face to face? Maybe you can't get together for a coffee. You're not jumping on a plane, meeting at a conference.
Right. No, absolutely. And that's a great question. And I will say, I am always the eternal optimist. So I always look for the silver lining in the crowd. And so I think even though, and I'm also an extrovert, so I greatly appreciate that face-to-face connection and being able to interact with someone and look in someone's eyes, have that eye contact. But that isn't always the case and the option today, and it probably won't be for the foreseeable short-term future anyways. So I say, use the platform that we have to the advantages that it brings us. So number one, I think in some ways it's easier to connect with some people now than it was before when you had to have a face-to-face meeting.
Right.
So I'm finding a lot of people are using this time to leverage the fact that people aren't jumping on a plane or having to be sitting in traffic and or going from one place to the next. So I think the virtual is a very and as a matter of fact, I have some contacts that have really used this time to their advantage to say, I'm finding I have some time that I would not have normally had. So they're making the time to reach out to people that they haven't connected with in a long time. Also, sort of identifying people that you've been wanting to connect with that you haven't had an opportunity to. So virtually is through Zoom or any other platform, I think it can be effective. Another thing is that you can think of ways that you can give back. So, a lot of people are using this time to offer, whether it's a webinar or creating some networking forums or masterminds, or these are ways that you're giving back. So, because, people are still busy. They may not have the time to just have a let's catch up conversation. But if you make it productive and effective to say, we've got a topic that, and we're going to bring a panel to talk through that, and or maybe it's a real topic of interest to a small group that you want to just brainstorm and be able to help each other. I mean, these are ways that you can deepen your relationships, even in the current situation. Another thing, too, is, there's so many ways of staying connected to people. sometimes it's as simple as if you read an article about something that you know someone else would find helpful because they're experiencing, some sort of a change right now, or they're going through a project that you read an article that you think might benefit them. That's another way of, sharing and, giving back and being of service to someone in a way that doesn't require you to, be on the phone or face to face, but it's still a way of people seeing that you're thinking of them and thinking of ways of how you can stay connected to them. Another thing too is even just connecting people to other people. I do that a lot actually. Connecting someone that with somebody else in your network, or even more than one person, so that they have an opportunity to be of service to each other, be a resource to each other, build their network further. These are just a few sample ways of kind of keeping your network going. I'm finding a lot of people are also using social media a little bit more during this period of time to, either further promote a topic that's of interest to them and the community they're in, or to provide resources around that topic, or even just again to connect with people in a way that they didn't have the time to do before.
Well, I agree with you that there are opportunities that wouldn't have been available before now, or at least we're embracing them in ways we didn't. For example, there's a Fortune 500 company that's bringing me in to do a workshop about how their staff can land board seats. And originally it was just going to be in their headquarters in Boston. But now no one's in the headquarters in Boston. So they're turning into a webinar, which means all their employees across the globe can be joining and participating in it. So it is in some ways a fun way. There are opportunities, and I think you described it silver lining, and you can seize these. And so let's pivot that in a sense to maybe the way the Boston Club is using this, and it's a different world now. In the past, you would have probably had a lot of board education programs, probably a lot in person, focused on the networking component as much as the learning. I don't know if you guys are shifting now to do just more learning and on webinars. How are you approaching it? Because you have something like 700 members. How are you keeping them engaged and helping them develop along their journey to get to the boardroom in the way that the world works today?
Yes, exactly. And we have pivoted greatly. And what we've focused on at the Boston Club is really offering our support to our members in a variety of ways, really through various ways of outreach. And what we have done is, as you said, we've sort of pivoted very well to virtual programming, but not just programming with webinars, but we've also done, a lot of different ways of networking and being there for each other. For example, we've started a series of what we call Let's Connect, where it's I believe it's weekly that we put out a topic and allow members to, and we have the Zoom platform, so of course we use that for all of our virtual events now, and it's an opportunity for them to come together and we will throw out a topic and provide some resources and or have an expert speak on it, but then it's very interactive, giving members an opportunity to really talk through it and have an opportunity to really dig deep around that topic. Another thing is that, we've gone from, we had a lot of programming throughout the year, always. Now, however, going virtual, we have at least 2 a week, which is phenomenal. And I have to say, that's to the credit of many of our members. Not only have we had some folks come in that are non-members, but a lot of these programs in virtual, sessions have been put on by our members. As you said, we have up to just under 700 members, and these are all highly accomplished, successful women with expertise in every area that you can imagine. And so there's so much, there's a wealth of knowledge and expertise in the club, and many of these members have reached out to us and said, I'd like to help. This is what I'd like to do. For example, we have 2 cardiologists that are members, and they did a session on heart health. We have, the America who's a member, and she reached out and said, "Would you like me to do a session on the impact globally of COVID?" And she did. And these are just a couple of examples, but we've had so many of these examples like that of women who are members that have phenomenal expertise, that have stood up and said, let me do a session on XYZ. So we've done that, and that it amazes me. And usually we don't do programming in the summer, and we are nonstop. We've got programming that's going to continue virtually throughout the summer. And also we have affinity groups in the Boston Club, which are smaller ways to connect around a specific whether it be social, that's a dinner club, or it's it might be affinity group for attorneys in the club. It might be for those in healthcare. We have several affinity groups, and so these affinity groups would typically meet in person. And so now, we've offered our virtual platform, the Zoom platform, to all of these affinity groups, and so they're continuing on to have, like, for example, I'm a member of our writers affinity group, and so we've been continuing to have our sessions, which has been great. I mean, again, our slogan has been, not slogan, but what we've kind of gone, we believe in strongly is we are better together, and these are examples of how we've done that. Another thing we've done is we've created what we call TBC Coaching Corner, where several of our members are professional coaches such as myself, and so what we're doing is offering complimentary 30-minute coaching sessions for members who would like someone to sort of talk through something with and use as a sounding board, and or for some help around something that they are dealing with at this point, because our members range. We have such diversity, and they range from women that are in their 30s that are raising families and managing their careers, all the way up to women in their, up to their 80s who are either, stepping back and or still fully engaged. So, and everything in between. So we have such a diverse group of members with different needs, and so we really try to be a resource to them, to all of them, and to try to provide value to those diverse needs that are out there. Let me stop there. That was a mouthful.
Well, so Rita, let's picture someone in our audience who goes, well, that sounds like a great organization for me. They're probably in the Boston area, and going, that could be the type of people that I want to engage with to learn about the boardroom. You take this fictitious new member who signs up after this show and says, I want to be involved. Give us a sense of how the curriculum would work for people who are saying, I want to be in a board, and I'm hoping the Boston Club could help me do that. What do you walk them through? How does it look and feel for them? I think we lost her. I think her phone hung up. Can you get a timestamp on that? Because she'll probably dial us back in. Do we hang up and she'll call back? Do we need to hang it up? Okay. She did warn us that it might pop out, but that's okay. So I know where I am. I'll just ask that question again. Yeah. Okay. I'm guessing it is her phone, but let's see if she's on email.
That's what happened that I was worried about.
That's not a problem. We're okay.
Yeah,
We're all good. What I'll do is I will say the question again, and when we do the edits, it's like it never happened. So don't worry about that at all. So we'll just keep going with it. So okay. I'll tee up that question again, and we'll just keep going. We've got about 5 minutes or so left. So we'll answer this, and we'll start to wrap. So it's totally fine.
Okay.
So let me just sort of formulate it again for you. So, Rita, imagine you're someone in our audience who's thinking this could be a great organization for me. They're probably in the Boston area. These are the type of people I want to network with. I'm eager to get a board seat. Give them a sense of what the curriculum would feel like, the learning experience. How do you handle someone who comes in and says, I'm gung-ho, I'm ready, I want to be on a board, prepare me, off we go. What does it look and feel like?
As a member of the Boston Club.
Right.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's, actually, can we start over, Alexander?
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Just at myself.
So I'll ask the question again, and you can just go ahead and answer it. So Trey, we'll just pick up from right here on the final version. So Rita, imagine someone in our audience is thinking, hey, I'm in the Boston area. This sounds like a great group to me. I want to network with them. I'm ready to get a board seat. I just need the help. I need the coaching and the guidance. I want to learn from their curriculum. So Rita, this person signs up today. What does it feel like for them tomorrow? What sort of curriculum do they get walked through? What's the experience like?
Sure. Yeah, so at the Boston Club, what we do is we provide education, research, as well as influence and placement, advocating for more placement of women on both nonprofit and for-profit boards. And so as a member, you would have the opportunity for lots of these resources that we provide. We do board education throughout the year. We offer several, as a matter of fact, right now we have several sessions on how to be board ready, everything from preparing your resume to how to put yourself forth, to put your best foot forth as you seek out and be considered for board seats. We also have a census that we prepare every year in collaboration with Bentley University, and it's research that studies the 100 largest publicly held companies in Massachusetts and produces the results of what their representation is on their board and in their C-suite in terms of gender diversity. And so, as a member, again, you would have access to all of these resources, and also learn from several other women who have been through that journey, and build a network around that. The Boston Club really is all about connecting and elevating women in leadership. And as we mentioned, we have close to 700 members. We have 5 different personas, diverse across all industries, disciplines, and ages. And we have a 44-year history of focusing on gender diversity and equity within both the C-suite and the boardroom. And our purpose is all about raising women and supporting them in their ventures. And we believe that more women in leadership in visible and influential roles has a positive effect on organizational success, business results, and society at large. So it's really a win-win for all. And the value that we offer to our members, as well as our corporate partners and sponsors, is really all about recognition, in terms of our members' accomplishments, as well as women in general, access to other women that are, again, have been through these experiences, as well as to opportunities. And then lastly, impact to make a difference in the advancement of women leaders. And our number one strategic guiding principle is to cultivate a culture of inclusion and belonging. And our motto is, no woman stands alone. So as a woman, as a member, I will say, having been involved and active in many organizations, the relationships that I've built and the connections that I've made, the opportunities that I've been afforded through my connection with the Boston Club, both personally and professionally, have been just so deep. It's those relationships, anytime, I've needed to reach out to a fellow member, whether it's help professionally or even for a personal referral or advice, I've felt that connection. And I think that's our major differentiator for a member coming in, is those connections, building strong, deep relationships with one another, and making it a difference in the advancement of women leaders, all women, whether it's for yourself as well as for our peers. And we really believe in that, those connections and collaborations. And we have corporate partners and sponsors that range in all industries as well. And,
just to name a few, organizations like State Street Corporation and New Balance and Athena Health and Liberty Mutual. These are just a few of the organizations. And we do seek out diversity in every aspect of that word with intentionality and continue to work on our initiatives there and our efforts. And so as a member, again, you've got really access to all of this and to really make a difference and to give of your own talents as well. Because as I said, we have so many women that really have such a range of experiences and expertise. And also resources. Another thing through this whole crisis, we really have provided resources on how to get through some of the challenges, with COVID. And so the resources available are quite rich as well.
Well, Rita, it is great to hear about all the wonderful stuff the Boston Club is doing. And whether you are male or female listening to this, we talked about tips today about branding, about marketing, building a position of authority. That cuts across everything. And we are big fans of diversity of thought in the boardroom on the show, and that's what we're proponents of. And we are glad to hear that you guys are doing successful stuff, especially during the crisis and how that has changed the situation. You guys are embracing that. And I'd like to thank you so much for being on the show today. We were delighted to have you here. We appreciate you sharing your insights and helping all of our audience to be more boardroom bound.
I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here, and thank you for having me.
That's it for this episode of Boardroom Bound. I really enjoyed chatting with Rita Allen. It was great hearing, for example, how the Boston Club, an organization that she's been involved with as president and board member, doing great work getting more women into the boardroom and improving that diversity there, but also using her knowledge as a personal branding and marketing expert from her years in HR, helping people to figure out how they themselves build a position of authority and prepare themselves to be successful in the boardroom. And remember, if you head over to podcast.gordon.edu, you will get links to everything that we talked about today. And please know that the Boardroom Bound team and I are so proud to be your go-to podcast for all things that connect, prepare, and empower you to land a board seat. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any of the high-quality content we're bringing to you every Wednesday. Thanks for joining me today. I can't wait to share more stories and strategies from brilliant business minds with you again next week. Remember to keep tuning in to be Boardroom Bound.